Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
Isaiah McCory, over under 9:04 Central Time here. The under. Hit the under there. Looks like. You guys have 9:03?
That's what I got.
9:02.
On my phone, I got 9:03. 9:03.
No faith. The earlier start time. This is going to be a regular thing for the Feedback Friday live stream, 9 a.m. Central Time going forward. So if you're, there's going to be people probably stumbling in at 10 a.m. Central Time, and you can still watch the whole thing on demand. But we've got a big bin of feedback questions to get to, and takes and critiques. We've got a snake draft. Dex is going to tell you about standard heating and air conditioning. Over under. I'm going to ask Judd this. Over under 3 hours of sleep right now for Declan.
Over.
I think that's probably over 3, under 4. I'll say under 4.
Like as of yesterday as a whole, like in terms.
Well,
of
don't you stay up till like 3? Isn't that your shift?
Typically, yeah. But what's been happening? Like last night was probably his greatest night of sleep of his life. He went down around 10:30. Is when he went down. I've been engulfed in playoff baseball. My wife is so pissed off that we're continuing to watch playoff baseball from like 1 to 10 o'clock every day. I've had to mix in some Gilmore Girls episodes on the side so she can be happy. I equally, if she doesn't like playoff baseball, I equally loathe the Gilmore Girls show. It's one of the worst shows in the world to me. But, compromise. That's what marriage is all about. So he slept from like 10:30 to 1:30 and then fell asleep at 2 and then woke back up at 4:30. And then Kelsey swapped in with me, and I went upstairs to sleep till like 7:30. So I think I was asleep by like 11:30. So this is my roundabout way to say I think I got like 5 hours yesterday. I think I hit the over.
Oh, you're fresh for this.
There you go. All right.
Ready to dominate the snake draft. So standard heating and air conditioning is here to fix your HVAC system too.
Exactly. It's keeping everyone sleeping nicely in the house because the temperatures are appropriate and everything is good there, and there's none of that weird dust or anything going on. So right now, $30 off a furnace tune-up when you contact Standard Heating. You can get $30 off that. But only through the end of October. So go to standardheating.com, tell them that Purple Daily sent you. You can join their Smart Club, too, which gives you priority on discount on repairs, plus discounts on the jobs that are coming out there. So go to standardheating.com to get $30 off your furnace tune-up.
All right, let's start with Ryan B. here. He says, good afternoon from yesterday. Phil Declan, Sports Dad. I hope this message finds you in better shape than the 2025 Vikings offensive line. I will probably get a lot of flack for what I'm about to say, but I do not care because it's the truth. And you know what they say? The truth hurts. The 2025 Vikings will not make the playoffs, and the season is already, for all intents and purposes, over. End message.
I thought the saying was the truth can't be controversial. Like
well, they also say that the truth hurts, right?
Yeah.
I think both of those are true, aren't they?
I guess so. I'm not willing to go there yet. I just can't go. Like, yes, things are very negative. Your offensive line is a complete mess. Did Judd get demoted? This is great. Did Judd get demoted? Why is he in the studio every day now? I'm going to tell you why, Dubs, because there is machinery in my street digging up the street because they're replacing the gas lines or something. So, by the way, I also don't want to die if the whole block explodes. Unfortunately, the dogs will.
I'm the man. Play Mackie. Happy 50th, buddy. Screw you.
Wow. You still got 10 years. Hey, you know what? There's nothing wrong with 50 besides the fact you slow down a lot. Anyway, I can't go there yet. They've lost a lot of guys, but we are still in the first part of October. We're a quarter of a season, or actually with the 17-game season, a little bit less than that. So, yes, I get the negative vibes. The energy feels off, but all of that being said, I got to give them more time.
Yeah, I think, I think playoffs are it's going to be very lucky for them to get into the playoffs at this point. I do think it's going to be lucky. The NFC is stacked, and I just don't know with the injuries of the offensive line that they can overcome this. That is not to say that I'm still, punting on the season because they are in a deeper hole to potentially make the playoffs. I want to see JJ McCarthy. I want to see what he does over the course of a season, the good and the bad. So I know he is maybe getting a little closer to returning. We have the bye week after this, so maybe he starts against Philadelphia. But my biggest thing, honestly, like going forward, maybe like a minor hot take on a Feedback Friday instead of the day after games is my biggest thing right now. My biggest thing that I want to continue watching is JJ McCarthy's development, and everything else on this season is kind of extra gravy. So I wouldn't say it's disappointing, but I do think it's going to be a very difficult road for them to make the playoffs at this point.
Yeah, well, right now it's like 20%, I think, the ESPN Football Power Index from the Tuesday episode. They need like 7 or 8 more wins to make it a conversation, right? Because they're 2-2, so you need to get to either 9 or 10 wins to make playoffs a conversation. Then it kind of comes down to tiebreakers and whatnot. So I got the schedule in front of me, just for fun here. Where are the 7 or 8 wins? You got to get the Cleveland game. I think you got to get the Cleveland game.
Yep.
2 and 3 makes it almost impossible.
Right.
Also, I will say that when I don't remember the order in which we all picked wins and losses, but I do remember that my preseason crack at picking the schedule included a fairly hot start. It was like a 4-1 start. Maybe it's 3-2, and then some losses piling up after the bye that brought them back toward 500, and then a bunch more wins starting with like the Bears game, Dallas and the Giants, and a home Washington game, and all those games. So there's wins to be had later in the schedule. So where are the 7 or 8? Cleveland. I think Philadelphia is vulnerable the way they've been playing in close games. I mean, obviously they're still the defending champions. They don't lose games, but they're kind of teetering on the edge of every single game. Can you beat either the Eagles or the Chargers in that 5-game stretch? Chargers with no left tackle the next couple weeks.
Yes.
One of their 2 main running backs is out for the season in Najee Harris. So, like, can you get one of those games?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll even give you losses to, like, Detroit. I'll give you a Baltimore loss. I'll bake that into this equation. Bears, that's 3 at home. I'll say Green Bay, a loss at Seattle. And then beat the 3 NFC East teams, Washington, Dallas, Giants. That gets you to 6 on top of the 2 you have. And then beat either Detroit or Green Bay at home in the last 2 weeks. I just gave you a bunch of losses to like Seattle and Baltimore and Lions and whatnot, but that gets you to 9. It's not super unrealistic path.
But as far as I'm concerned, with the Vikings in the conference, there are so many unknowns because, again, teams are going to be, I mean, the injuries already are out of control, and it's not just a Vikings thing. And you're going to have more teams. In fact, you're probably going to have a few teams playing well that are going to be hit. I mean, to their credit, San Francisco is 4-1, won last night. But look at what San Francisco, I believe that they were down to like 2 backup slappy receivers. Nick Bosa is out. Now, to Declan's point from about 3 weeks ago, which is extremely interesting, the one guy who's still playing, of course, for San Francisco, and he gets hurt a lot, Trent Williams at left tackle. And what's the importance there? But, I mean, just look at the conference right now. Philadelphia, undefeated. But after that, Washington has been without Jaden for a couple of games. They're 2-2. Dallas is 1-2, and their defense is terrible. In the North, Detroit, 3-1. Green Bay, 2-1, but the Vikings could be 3-2 if they beat Cleveland. The South is Tampa Bay 3-1, but then it's the Falcons at 2-2, and the West has 3 teams: the Niners, the Seahawks, and the Rams above 500. But my point is, it's not like all of these teams are pulling away and all of them are undefeated. And if the Vikings get some guys back, like, you just don't know. That's what makes it so hard to ever sit down with a schedule. It's fun to predict it, but it makes it so hard because you're always predicting optimum health, which is impossible.
Keep in mind, Judley, you missed 2 1-1 and 1 2-1, and we almost had 2 more teams in this GD conference finish with another ties yesterday. And I am so thankful we did not have 4 teams in a conference trying to figure out playoff seeding and tiebreakers. Right call every time. Play to win the game. Don't play the tie. Play call, we can debate that. That was probably the wrong play call. But playing to win the game, dudes. Yes, every single time.
Agreed. I love the call by Sean McVay.
And he acknowledged at the podium, terrible play call. Yeah. He said, that's on me. It was an awful play call.
Yeah.
Good for him.
On the game last night, Justin Vetter chimes in and says, after watching Thursday Night Football, I'm starting to run out of excuses for the Vikings. The Niners have been ravaged by injuries just like the Vikings. and yet they are performing at a level much higher than us. Yes, I know the high sack rate, and to be quite frank, unplayable offensive line contributes to this, but it just boggles my mind. Good coaches know how to adjust the pieces that are missing. Mac Jones, who's a backup, by the way, is balling. He threw for like 340 yards last night, taking some big hits too.
Yep.
If something doesn't start to change with this offense soon, I think it's going to show some major flaws from Kevin O'Connell, who I'm a fan of, but I've yet to see him stick to adjusting to the circumstances that he's given. Love the show. Keep up the great work. Is there any sort of parallel here where, wait a second, the Niners just waltzed into Los Angeles without a bunch of key pieces and had a double-digit lead for most of that game and won that game? Like, what are the Vikings doing? Is that a fair argument?
I think that entire note is fair. I think it's entirely fair because what San Francisco did is impressive. But so here's the conversation, though, is funny because, yes, it starts with I do think O'Connell is going to have to and is probably not adjusting as quickly as possible. But let's expand it, okay? Because we talked about this in April. We talked about it in March. And my question now is, did you get, and I know people say, well, if your starter gets hurt, you're screwed. But that's not how this league works for a lot of teams. So did the Vikings do the right thing when it came to the backup QB, knowing that they were going to start a guy who just missed an entire season? Like JJ McCarthy being hurt is not like, I cannot believe it. This guy was Favinian, 16 years at every start. Did the Vikings handle that right? And I keep coming back to no. Sam Howell, it was very clear it was not going to work. But more importantly, then, if you know that, and I don't know what the price of Carson Wentz was at the time, but whatever. I want my backup quarterback to get all of training camp. I know he doesn't take the majority of the snaps, but he's still very valuable. And like this whole thing about, well, Wentz is still trying to learn, to me, that's not an excuse. Like you had to, Mac Jones has been really good. Full credit. But guess what? He also had a full training camp. He got integrated into the system. So I do think that there's some things, if this is the right phrasing of it, between the margins here that I fault on the Vikings that don't have to do with like O'Connell in game doing something wrong.
I will say a couple things on both sides of this 49ers comparison. On one hand, there's been two different seasons in the last 5 where the Niners had a bunch of injuries and went 6-10 and 6-11. Injuries just derailed them. So it's not like every year they're overcoming injuries and going to the Super Bowl. And also, even in their best seasons, they've been 12, 13 wins. Kevin O'Connell has a 14-win season and a 13-win season. So O'Connell's regular season peak is actually higher in terms of win totals than Kyle Shanahan's. Shanahan postseason has made 2 trips to the Super Bowl. And the biggest argument on behalf of Shanahan's ability to just figure out circumstances, they've had, including this year, the first month and a half, the worst offensive yardage rank they've had in the last 5 years is 7th in 2021. They've been 7th in yards, 5th twice, 4th and 2nd. So call it like borderline 5 consecutive years of top 5 yardage offenses with Garoppolo, Purdy, Mac Jones, different quarterbacks, with different leading rushers. McCaffrey, Jordan Mason was actually their leading rusher statistically last year. And then Isaac Guerendo was in there. Elijah Mitchell was their leading rusher in 2021 before they acquired Christian McCaffrey. And with 4 different leading receivers so far. Deebo Samuel, who's gone. Brandon Ayuk, who's been out. George Kittle, who was out last night. And then Christian McCaffrey. So it's like, and a bunch of different offensive linemen. So that is a fair point about Kyle Shanahan. They have a ton of talent there. They also have depth, but he's able to take different offensive linemen, different leading receivers, different running backs, different quarterbacks, and all of them equal top 5 yardage offenses. So, and Kevin is not quite on that level.
Yep.
Nigel Zimmich says, you may call this a hot take. The Vikings can potentially limp into the bye week at 3-2, and that is incredibly impressive considering the circumstances. I'm hereby officially putting the Eagles on upset watch after the bye. The Vikings always excel as underdogs, and as we've seen in the NFL the last few weeks, there's no such thing as a guaranteed win. After the bye, the Vikings are eligible to get McCarthy, Donovan Jackson, Brian O'Neill, Andrew Van Ginkel, Blake Cashman, maybe even Ryan Kelly back. I absolutely see a scenario where the Eagles underestimate the power of this team. And if I know anything about Kevin O'Connell, his teams tend to compound very easily. Don't count the Vikings out yet. They are weathering a very difficult storm right now, and the best is yet to come. Write this down. The Vikings will stun the Eagles in Week 7. I think I have that.
I thought you wrote that down already. I thought you wrote that down, or you've talked about it all week. Yeah, yes, that would not shock me. I mean, the game is here, and if you look at the record, Philadelphia is off to an undefeated start. They won the Super Bowl. That's all fantastic. But if you start to look through the statistics, they're not exactly dominating the National Football League. Okay, so if the Vikings beat the Eagles and they have some guys back, I don't even know that that's like shocking. I think it's an upset. I think it's surprising, but this is not like the Vikings suck. Okay, the vibes are bad. I'm just telling you, the vibes are bad. They feel off. Not with the team. I don't think that there's any internal strife as far as we know. But when a team gets off to an injury-riddled start, when they lose a couple of games like the Vikings have, I think the vibes feel weird. And so I feel like we're all sort of just punting now. It's over. It's not going to work out, which is a very Vikings thing of us. Like, I'm guilty too. I'm not casting or throwing stones at people. But yeah, I would not be shocked if guys come back and they win some games. Like, they can be above 500. I know it sucks, but they could be above 500 coming home from jolly old England. And if they are, it's not ideal because you'd like 4 wins, but it's also not the end of the world. Yeah. And this is me talking.
they're also 2-2. They're not 0-4. Like it's not, the Saints are buried. The Jets are 0-4 in the AFC. There's teams that are honestly already dead in the water. Now, again, I think it's going to be just incredibly difficult to make the playoffs. It's not impossible. It's not, and being 2-2 and hopefully being 3-2 going into the bye. Yeah, I mean, it's not impossible, but I do think it's going to be a very difficult road to get there.
Yeah. Yeah, let's get to the next one here. McQueen says, when's the last time we've all gone into a season brimming with optimism where the Vikings actually performed up to the expectation? 2009? Is there any actual football reason why we are stuck in this Sisyphean state of alternating playoff seasons with disappointing letdown seasons, or is it just some inexplicable curse from the football gods? He's right. They haven't gone to the playoffs in back-to-back years since 2009.
Yeah, 2008 and 9, right? Yeah, that's right.
So back-to-back, yeah.
Well, I'm trying to think. I think he might be right, too, because 2009, especially once Brett came back after the Mankato portion of training camp was done, we were all, and rightfully so, thought this is a really good team. Since then, when is the last time that we went into a season with expectations like I feel like we did this season, and they delivered? Because 2017, once Bradford got hurt, we're all like, they're screwed. And then they went to Pittsburgh and lost. I can't think of one. I think he's right.
Man, yeah. I mean,
18
going into last year, it was very, very cautious, right? Because can Sam Darnold play? Did they make a mistake not signing Kirk? All those questions. Yeah, I think it is. It's probably 2009. There was a couple Zimmer seasons where you knew they were going to be really competitive, but the 2 years that they popped the most, which I think are 2015, which was like, whoa, this is an 11-win team out of nowhere basically, and then 2017. 2019, when they won that playoff game against the Saints, you knew they were going to be competitive and probably going to be a playoff team. So, but it wasn't like Super Bowl aspirations, I don't think. Well,
and if I recall correctly, we actually had the Super Bowl aspirations 2018 because Kirk signed in March, and we're all like, okay, you got your quarterback now. Let's go. Let's just go. And they missed the playoffs. They couldn't even beat a Bears team that had nothing to play for.
It's not his fault. Let's relitigate that for the next hour. Actually, let's just go back.
Stop.
Purple Pride chimes in and says, I'm just wondering if Austin Schlottman could be a backup center option. Why haven't I heard his name mentioned? He was on the team as a backup lineman for a while. We're going to steal one from Inside the NBA. Who he play for? No Googling. Austin Schlottman, former Vikings backup offensive lineman.
I think
who he play for now?
Did he come from the Giants? Wasn't he with the Giants? Or was he drafted by the Vikings?
I'm just gonna give Declan the point here. He is with the Giants.
He's with the Giants. Okay.
He's with the Giants.
I knew he either went or came from the Giants. Yeah.
Way to go, Dex.
Yep. What's funny is Declan has only 1 point in the latest iteration of Random Viking of the Week, but he just gave us a super random fact about a random Viking right there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, apparently, so he signed a 2-year deal with the Giants in March of 2024. Then he was on injured reserve at the end of training camp last year, activated on December 28th. I think he's still just like their backup center. He's behind John Michael Schmitz, maybe.
Yeah. The surprising thing, though, the one thing I don't get is they let Schlottman go and they brought in Justin School, and they're like, Justin School's an upgrade. Perhaps at right tackle he will be. I didn't see it at left tackle.
No, it's is Schlottman's interior though. School is a tackle. Schlottman's is a guard and a center.
Who was the tackle then? Who's the tackle?
Oh, you're thinking of Quessenberry.
Questenberry. Okay, they're the same guy. Like they play different
One
positions.
of them's a tackle. One of them's a guard.
Well, you know what? You know what? Have you ever seen them in the same room together?
I personally have not. No, I'm not.
Yeah, Questenberry, Schlottman.
Jake Barton says, with our offensive line being in bad shape prior to last week, why was Brian O'Neill even out on the field goal team? I know hindsight is 20/20, but the last two people I'd ever want on special teams would be my two high caliber but injury prone tackles, which at least Darisaw wasn't out there. Seems kind of irresponsible that we can't find or coach 8 other linemen or tight ends for the kicking team to have to roll out an important piece to the O-line puzzle. This is a very easy answer. They only get so many active players on game day, right? It's like 46 active players on game day?
I think you're correct, yeah.
So you only have like 8 active offensive linemen on game day, and I think all of them are out there for field goals and extra points. I think that's the case, right? Aren't all, because they're running like heavier packages for those, and they also don't want those getting blocked. So you're putting out your best players to avoid like a blocked field goal and a. Yeah, but it's not like they have 14 offensive linemen that are active, and you can just put like an entire second. So you have to have some of your guys out there, if not all of them. It's
also the type of thing that you notice when the guy gets hurt, but he's been out there the entire time before that. So,
right, he's been out there for years.
You just don't notice it because you don't think about it.
Excuse me. Yeah. Marissa of the North says, I'm a little perplexed regarding our acquisition of Ryan Kelly. With 2 concussions in 4 games, it feels as though the Vikings personnel evaluators may have not done their due diligence before signing him. Sure, his reputation as a tough guy is well deserved, but I'm left wondering, was this a misstep by the team or simply just a bad beat, the 2 concussions? Curious to hear your thoughts. There was definitely some risk baked into his career. It's not like a hidden fact that he's had some different injury issues. He's not like a 17 game per year guy. So they took a risk on this, but when he's in there, he's been one of the best pass protecting centers in the league, and he was the easiest plug and play, fix your biggest problem player on the free agent market.
Personally, one is I still endorse the idea to sign him. 2 is I think you can question, like among all the guys who are out, you can't be like, I'm going to get a really good backup for this guy, no good backup. I will say this. I am surprised that they banked on Michael Juergens being the backup center. Like I would have signed, and again, not a Pro Bowl player, but I would have signed someone who had started some games who might be a little bit long in the tooth, but just in case. Like I think that's a fair second guess. But as far as the original signing of Kelly, I still thought the idea was a good idea because he did bring a certain snarl and ability that you've been lacking at center.
Do you think Garrett Bradbury is better than Michael Juergens right now?
Yeah.
It's probably accurate, right?
Yep.
And that's the pitfall that they have found themselves in here, which is they went out and they upgraded center, and then they upgraded left guard in the draft. And you're just like, you're not only are you right back to where you were with your offensive line at the end of the year, you're a step or 2 behind that. This is actually a worse offensive line than the one that you were mad at that couldn't get points in the red zone against playoff teams, Lions and Rams. You are now like, and it's not anyone's fault necessarily. It's sometimes injuries happen and it's bad luck, but and that's why you have to readjust expectations now for this. It can't just be blanket, no excuse. There's no excuses. No, well, if you're saying that there's no excuses for why the Vikings are not as good as people thought, then you're saying players don't matter, or like more talented players swapped out for less talented players is irrelevant. and it's all scheme, in which case Kevin O'Connell should be making $50 million a year instead of players making, 10, 20, $25 million a year. So, yeah, it's a worse offensive line than it was at the end of last season. Right now, anyways. There's a bunch of... Okay.
Oh, and Sunday's going to be scary. Like, Blake Brandle's now at center, so that means that the probable starting left guard making his National Football League debut, go get him kid, is the Huber kid from Wisconsin, who might be fine ultimately, but like this is, you don't exactly have the most mobile quarterback back there. And I've not seen the Browns injury report for a designation on Myles Garrett yet, but like there's a lot of factors here that are going to be very interesting to see how they sort of scheme up a game plan to try to protect Carson Wentz.
Yep. And speaking of the quarterback, there's a bunch of quarterback related questions here that we can get into after a shout out to North American Banking Company, Minnesota based since 1998. And if you're thinking about buying a new home or tackling a renovation, financing a car, something big to do with your finances, North American Banking Company can help give you peace of mind about where you bank. Also, they can handle the basics too: checking accounts, savings accounts, business accounts. They are specialists in personal relationships and cutting-edge online tools. I think you'll notice the difference if you transfer your banking needs over to North American Banking Company. Go to nabankco.com/Mackey to learn more. That's nabankco.com/Mackey. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. I guess if you win some money on Underdog, you can take it to North American Bank. And what's happening on Underdog right now, Dex?
That's right. So there's a lot of fun stuff at Underdog. There's gimme picks that will hop in here every once in a while. There's discounted things. So when you're a user on Underdog, make sure you have your notifications turned on. So when you do get those gimme picks that will pop in, you have an opportunity there to make that pick 'em that much easier. Download the Underdog app. Sign up with promo code SCORE. Play your first $5 and get $100 in bonus funds. So that's an awesome new deal now from our friends at Underdog when you sign up with promo code SCORE, SKOR. And then, send me those winning pick'ems as well. I love seeing our listeners win big on Underdog. Download it in the App Store or the Google Play Store.
It's funny. I was at Game Day Men's Health. It was either last week or 2 weeks ago, and I'm walking in the lobby, and the guy who was just on the outside, like by the elevator bay, he had a Viking shirt on. He goes, "Oh my God, are you Mackey from Purple Daily?" I said, "Yes." He goes, "I am here at Game Day Men's Health because I heard you talking about it on Purple Daily." Awesome. And we're both like, he's 39. I just turned 40, but look like I'm 100. And we both compared notes on, yep, all right, compared to 10 or 15 years ago, decreased energy, mental fog. And you just kind of grind through it because, well, that's what happens when you get older, right? And we're both glad that we found Game Day Men's Health after having our conversation, because that's where men go to reclaim energy and vitality. No judgment, just solutions. And I can tell you personally, after 2 or 3 months now, that mental fog and decreased energy that I really felt at like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, even like, it was 50-50. Do I have enough energy to even go get like some 30 minutes of workout or something in? And oftentimes the answer was no during the week. I feel so much different 2 months later, energy-wise. So if you're looking to reclaim control of your health and your life, go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com/Purple Daily. That's GameDayMen'sHealth.com/Purple Daily. All right, dudes. Let's get into some quarterback stuff here. By the way, if you're new to Purple Daily, or you just stumbled into us here live on this Friday morning, click that subscribe button if you haven't done so already, as we inch closer to, I think, 60,000 subs is our next big milestone. It'd be fun to get there here in the next couple weeks. So thank you to everyone who is part of this incredible community of Vikings fans, Purple Daily listeners, viewers. Click that like button, the subscribe button. You can also help us on the audio side, Apple and Spotify, by giving us a 5-star rating and a positive review. Dan Kraft says, a month from now, the Browns will know more about Dylan Gabriel than the Vikings know about JJ McCarthy. Is that a fair statement?
At the rate we're going, absolutely is fair. I mean, we still don't know. We have no idea when McCarthy is going to come back, because the hope was to get him back into practice today or this week at some point in time. And he wasn't going to play, obviously, on Sunday, but the hope was to get him back on the field. He's not yet. He probably, in retrospect, if they had it to do again, knowing what they know, they probably would have left him here to train and not travel. But yeah, I think that's incredibly fair. Look, I mean, this is we talked about this. This is a big concern. This is the biggest concern is not how he looked on the field. It's the availability, because it doesn't matter if you're great or you're terrible if we can't find out. So yes, I think right now that is a very fair statement that the Browns are getting far more and have gotten far more of a look, far more practices with Gabriel than the Vikings have with McCarthy.
Yeah. And you mentioned practice. The missed practice time is important for a young quarterback. You're out there for a couple hours every day. You're running plays. Even if it's not totally full speed live game action against an opponent, you're sitting there. He's missed all of those practices last year during the season, except for like mental reps. And now he's missed most of the practices so far this season. So he's barely practiced during the season the last 2 years, let alone the games that he's missed too. So Jason Meehan chimes in and says, first of all, let me state that I've been a Michigan and Minnesota Vikings fan since I was 10 years old. I was devastated a few years ago when Jim Harbaugh wasn't the head coach. And I even wrote in saying that in my 40s, I was threatening to leave and become a San Diego Chargers fan at the time. Phil, you called me out and basically said, you're not leaving the fan base at this point. And you were completely right. I was full of crap. I'm still a Vikings fan. However, when JJ McCarthy was drafted by the Vikings, it was the second best day of my life, only behind getting married to my wife. I'm so sick of the JJ McCarthy slander. All this talk about how he's a bust and not any good, it's ridiculous. Last time I checked, some of the best quarterbacks in NFL history struggled in their first seasons. And by the way, in that voice you guys always use, by the way. It's the Royce voice. If he's supposedly so bad, and yet they're still 1-1 with him at the helm, I'll take that. He needs to be put back in the lineup when he's healthy, etc. I think you get the gist of this note here. So enough of the nonsense. Let's see if JJ McCarthy is the future. I completely believe that he is.
Okay, yeah, exactly. And by the way, that's Thor. But yeah, he is.
And look, this is Thor's pen name here.
Yeah, exactly right.
Okay, Jason.
Go up to if you could throw on the screen the Dubs comment that at 9:34. There's a few of them, but there's an interesting one here that I think we should parse through this, because this also ties into what Jason wrote. Dub said, I think KOC is terrified JJ will be awful again, so he's protecting him. Okay, let's suss this out, because I do feel like there's this conspiracy theory that McCarthy is either not hurt or it's not nearly as bad as the Vikings are saying, and they are conveniently saying high ankle sprain, which, by the way, is the worst type of sprain that you can suffer to your ankle. But here's my take on this, okay? If they were protecting him from games, like if he was full practice or practicing right now and he wasn't playing in games, I might go down that path. Mm-hmm. But Phil, as you just said, Kevin O'Connell is not going to protect him by not practicing him. Like, he has to practice. Like, if you know, he's not hurt that bad, but let's not practice him. First of all, if you were protecting him completely, you wouldn't have taken him on the trip, because then he's out of sight, out of mind. And you say, well, he's hurt too bad to practice, but you took him. And I firmly believe, I don't think there's and I love a good conspiracy. God knows I love one, but I don't think that there's some ulterior motive here, because Kevin O'Connell, no one with the Vikings would say, you know what, let's protect him so much that he gets no reps. I think it's very cut and dry here. He's hurt. Now that's a concern. He can't get on the field. That's the discussion here. Yeah. But this whole alluding to, well, I don't think he's really hurt that bad, but they're not having him do any football work. Think that through. That would make zero. That would basically mean you're punting on him.
It's that to me, that part of the conspiratorial part of the conversation is irrelevant. It's for the fringe kind of crazy Vikings fans at this point, right? For all the reasons you just said. And you nailed it a few minutes ago too. It's less of a discussion about how he looks on the field, because we don't have enough sample size yet. And he did do some things in that fourth quarter against the Bears that were mind-blowingly amazing, showing his upside. We haven't seen that type of quarter from a lot of the other quarterbacks drafted the last 2 or 3 years, even though there's 15, 20 or more games of sample size. So his upside that he showed us was absolutely worth earmarking. but his unavailability is the story. That's the story. And it's like, I'm not calling him soft or like it might be some bad luck, but the fact is he's only been available to play in like 2 games out of a possible 17 plus a playoff game, 18 now 4. So there's been this will be the 23rd game, regular season, postseason, that the Vikings have played since they drafted JJ McCarthy. He's been unavailable for I think 21 of them. That's the story to this point.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Chris Burke, our guy Chris Burke, chimes in here and says, as the charter member of the JJ McCarthy should never have been drafted club, I absolutely agree with Thor for once. McCarthy has to play after the bye week. The team must figure out what they have with JJ McCarthy before the offseason. Obviously, I've always maintained he will be awful, but in the show's opinion, how would he have to perform to warrant the Vikings looking for an actual new starter next year? In my opinion, the sooner the team realizes what it doesn't have with McCarthy, the better off the franchise will be. As the Vikings begin to explore other options this offseason, it's worth noting what an asset the Seattle Seahawks right now have in Sam Darnold at his price. The show continues to suggest that we don't miss Sam Darnold, yet on that contract, with the way he's playing, would Seattle trade their new 28-year-old quarterback for a first-round pick? Would they trade Darnold for a first-round pick right now? Absolutely not, Chris says. Eventually, the show will realize the Vikings' folly in moving on from Darnold and missing the chance to get a 28-year-old quarterback coming off a 14-win season for an average annual value of half of what the top quarterbacks make in the NFL.
Wow, there's a lot to unpack there from Chris. A lot to unpack. Now, first of all, okay, if you're going to be if you want to have a discussion about moving on from McCarthy, I think if he gets hurt again, if he can't get on the field, I think that becomes a far more viable discussion than anything I see in a game. I need to see him get reps. And then you have to take into context, okay, the Falcons game was really, really rough. Now his left tackle was out, so like we could blame things, but it was really rough. As you said, Phil, the fourth quarter of the Chicago game was unbelievable. Like, let's see more of that. Like, if that's what's going to come from the 10,000 hours and 1 million reps that we want, let's find out if that was in him. It came out in the fourth quarter. Now, have we seen it consistently enough? Absolutely not. But I think moving on from McCarthy, a discussion about that is so much more nuanced than just showing up at TCO one day and saying, that's it, I've seen enough. Like, it's a very nuanced discussion. He's a top 10 draft pick. I don't think that you just punt. And the other thing too is, and this is a pretty important thing, and Darnold proves it. Right now, Mac Jones is showing it. You give up on McCarthy tomorrow. Time to call on Shedeur Sanders. You give up on McCarthy tomorrow, okay? There's a very good chance he gets picked up by somebody and developed. So like we're so anxious to get to the finish line, and that's not how life works. And it's a top 10 pick. And you're telling me that you want O'Connell to just simply say, you know what, mistake made, bang, you're gone? I don't think it works like that.
There's an irony in wanting to bail on McCarthy to bring Sam Darnold in the fold when Sam Darnold was only available to become Sam Darnold after other teams bailed on him. And that is the thing that complicates this quarterback discussion because of teams' impatience over the last 10 years, there's this new market that has bubbled up of these guys that were probably bailed on too early or were just not given the structure that they needed to become great quarterbacks at their originally drafted organization. The Sam Darnolds, Baker Mayfields, Daniel Jones in part. We're seeing it now with Mac Jones. Mac Jones can freaking play, man. Like that dude, just like Sam Darnold, that dude was a punchline not that long ago. And now you're watching him just make these that throw he made on the touchdown pass, just like bang, like a little sidearm throw hanging in there. So I think that there's this discounted bin of really talented first-round draft pick quarterbacks that are like 4 or 5 years kind of into this broken path through the NFL and they're just late bloomers, it does create a new layer aside from $55 million quarterback or cheap rookie scale quarterback. You do have this third option now. And the Vikings tapped into it last year. But I'll say this to Chris, because Chris brings up a lot of good points, and he has been the contrarian emailer all summer and the last year and a half on JJ McCarthy. The question isn't what would make you the most competitive, what would make you a pretty darn competitive team. The question is what gets you a Super Bowl championship. Is Sam Darnold, even at a fairly discounted price of $33 million instead of the $55 million that other quarterbacks are making, can you win a Super Bowl with Sam Darnold making like $33 million a year? And maybe the answer is yes at some point. And maybe the answer is yes this year for the Seahawks. But I still think the better formula, in the absence of having a bona fide top 5 franchise carrying Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, who you're just going to pay whatever they want, right? If I can't have that, I would still rather have a rookie scale contract, talented quarterback, and try to expedite his development process and marry it up with a monster roster. That's what they're trying to do right now. But neither the quarterback or the roster can stay healthy enough to bring that vision to life. So what is the blueprint that wins you a Super Bowl? I'm not ready to say that it's Sam Darnold, even at a discounted $33 million price. Mm-hmm. Is that fair?
Yeah. Mac Jones, when he came into the league, was solid. His rookie year in New England was good. He led him to the playoffs. He looked all right. This might be some decent little succession plan here. Then he regressed like terribly. Obviously, I think in year 2 and 3 with New England. I think he was in Jacksonville right last year. Now in San Francisco and having a resurgence. Where McCarthy has one good quarter underneath his belt here. So I think also the timeline's a little different. It's not completely the same thing. But yeah, I want to see the kid play. And I don't think it's just if he goes through if he's available and he goes through struggles this year, I'm not ready to punt on it. I think the bigger question, to be honest, is like if he comes back from the ankle injury and then the dude also like tears his ACL. Like I would say another ridiculous season-long injury would put more question to me in it than just how he plays the rest of the season when he's on the field.
Mm-hmm.
I agree completely. Yeah. And that's also where I think that there is a conversation to be had about who is going to be the backup quarterback going forward after this, because like it just become very clear that you probably need to have at least more of a set option. It feels like what they did this spring was very hodgepodge. They pursued a few guys. I really think it threw them for a loop when Jones left. When Daniel Jones left, I think they fully expected he'd come back, and then he didn't. And so they got ticked off and they moved on, but it didn't feel like there was a real coherent plan. And in fact, a guy like Mac Jones looks pretty damn good now. And we talked about him as a possibility. So there's a lot of I think it's fair to say this. There are a lot of moving parts here in this entire thing. And it's not black and white. It's very, very gray. But this notion that you're just going to move on from McCarthy, to me, is absurd. Like, you've waited how long to draft a quarterback top 10? And now you're just going to say, it didn't work. But I agree with everyone who's frustrated that he hasn't been playing. And if he gets hurt again and it's bad, you're going to have you're going to have a conundrum, because you're never going to know at that point if you do move on.
Yeah, I think just one more thought on this Chris email, because it is very thought-provoking. But the only way that Chris is correct here, if the bar that we are measuring against is what gives you the best chance to win a Super Bowl, not what gives you the best chance to win 10 or 11 games and get into the playoffs or whatever, what gives you the highest possible ceiling? The only way the answer is Sam Darnold, 3 years, $100 million, is if he becomes what people thought he was going to be, which is a consistent franchise-carrying sixth best quarterback in the league, right below Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, etc. If you could guarantee me that Sam Darnold is going to be that over the course of that contract, okay, the Vikings made a mistake. I'm not there yet with him. He's performing very well, but there's a big difference between being a pretty good above average quarterback, and that'll get you 9, 10, 11, maybe 12 wins, 14 wins last year for the Vikings. It's not winning you 4 games in January and February. It's not. And your roster probably isn't good enough There's a gap or two in your roster, even when you're paying a quarterback $33 million. Now, you could come back and say, you want to talk about gaps in rosters? Vikings are paying $5 million for this clown over here who can't stay on the field, right? I'm not calling him a clown. I'm just saying that's the pushback. And it's not like the roster's making up for it. And yeah, the roster's been ravaged by injuries. So the whole thing has kind of blown up in the Vikings' face in the first 5 weeks while they watch the Seahawks and Sam Darnold off to a white-hot start in the West. It's fair.
Yeah. And I think if you actually look at Darnold's contract, I think there's lots of outs. I will say this. If a team comes to the Seahawks in March and says, we will give you a first-round pick for Sam, I think they listen very intently. So, like, if a team came to you in March and said, hey, you know what? We really like Sammy Boy, and you've got a kid that you are developing. I think if Chris thinks that they would slam down the phone on a Sam Darnold being traded for first-round pick, I think he's wrong.
See, I don't think they would, just because it's so comfortable. Once you have that really good, solid quarterback for under market value, it's a very comfortable place to be in the NFL. Teams hate quarterback uncertainty, and the Vikings. There was evidence that the Vikings had some internal strife about like moving off Cousins a couple years ago because it's hard and you're taking a risk. I mean, Kevin O'Connell's reputation is being questioned after 5 weeks because they took a risk. If they had kept Darnold and Darnold was off to a decent start, people would say, all right, yeah, that was the right decision. But would you think that the Vikings, minus a couple pieces and some of the injuries, some of the injuries would still be happening with Darnold here? Would you consider that a Super Bowl team? I don't think so.
The Vikings?
Yeah.
No, and I know that guys they signed with the money they picked up from allowing Darnold to walk are hurt right now, but also what's your roster construction then too? Because if you sign Darnold, you can't afford to sign all of the guys that you signed now, unfortunately. But I don't know, man. If I'm offered a first-round pick in March for Sammy Boy, especially if he goes back into being, hey, he's good, but I still can't get entirely past those last 2 games. Yeah. I want to see Sam Darnold when the pressure is on late in the season, because that Detroit game in particular is one of the great meltdowns I've seen.
Depends where the pick is too.
Sure.
Like if it's like the back end of which, like, I don't know why a playoff team would say for Sam Darnold, but like in that example, like if it was a back end first round pick, no. If it's a top 5 pick, like one of the worst teams that's projected to draft, I don't think they can get the quarterback. I think you got to do it, but not a slam dunk.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot. Yeah. By the way, like, we're gonna have way more information on all of these debates in like 3 months, but we're sitting here in the middle of this NFL tornado right now, and it's hard to see out of it.
Here's a question for you. What's the debate going to be if this continues in San Fran? What's the debate, like, league wide, going to be about? Is the Purdy contract a massive mistake?
It already is a mistake.
No, but I mean,
you've already shown
it.
I mean, I just went over the evidence too, like a half hour ago. The Niners have had basically top 5 yardage offenses for 6 years, 5 or 6 years, with Garoppolo, with Purdy, and now Mac Jones is it 3 games now of Mac Jones just tearing it up for the most part? So if you know that your system can put Jimmy Garoppolo in that spot and the last pick in the draft in that spot and a bust, quote unquote, Mac Jones, a punchline in that spot. And guess what? If Sam Darnold had gotten some run, he was a backup with San Francisco, he probably would have done the same thing. Why would you pay 20 to 25, whatever it is, 20% of your salary cap for that position? And that's like, but teams are so, rightfully so, afraid that they're going to wind up with a bag of coal at that position. So they'd rather just like, let's just make sure that, okay, let's stop the wheel. We'll stop it on Purdy here. But like Mac Jones was deemed more talented than Purdy from a draft perspective by 6 rounds difference. So
and you've got, though, so yes, I agree teams are scared, but what I would say is this. One, I'm scared of the contract. Like, the Purdy contract scares me, keeps me up at night. But the other thing about it is you've got the secret sauce in the coaching staff, and Shanahan in particular. And the greatest thing, I've always said this, the greatest thing about salary cap sports, coaching staffs don't have a salary cap.
Obviously,
he's the difference.
I'm a Purdy stan. I like Brock Purdy a lot. I've defended him left and right. I do think he was worth it. He is making 2.7% of the cap this year, 7.8 next year, so it's 24 million, 30 million in 2027, which is still under 10%. He has 100 million guaranteed. Like, I understand where we're at here. That is not a completely back-breaking contract to them.
The average annual value on his contract is like $53 million a year.
But they've structured it. They've structured it with a ton of void years and other things in there to make it doable to still build up the rest of their roster.
For a few years, and then they'll but they're essentially like saying we have to win a Super Bowl with Brock Purdy in the next 2 or 3 years, and then and we can pull it up, but he's literally the 5th highest paid quarterback in the league, average annual value, according to Over the Cap. And his cap hits the next few years it's 9, 25, 30. Okay, they've like managed it early. And then they have to deal with it in like 3 years. So if they don't win a Super Bowl in the next 2 or 3 years with Brock Purdy, then good luck at that point. Because then the cap hits are 58, 72, $64 million going into his 30s. And
this is where, but just as an overall discussion topic, this is also where the quarterback market has jumped the shark. Like, there are some guys that deserve this, but it's a very small group. And I feel like, and Phil, we've discussed this going back to the old radio show. I feel like there came a day where it's like, okay, if you're a successful QB, you're in this, in Group A. And if you're not, you're in Group C. And it's like, okay, where's Group B? Like, where's the B group of guys that are paid well?
But it
Baker
exists
Mayfield
now.
might be
It's
there.
great.
Yeah, Baker might be there, but yeah, so like Brock Purdy to me should be Group B.
Well, who gives the Niners a better chance to win a Super Bowl in the next 2 years? Brock Purdy or Mac Jones? And
Mac Jones for less money.
I don't know. Yeah, much.
Okay, hold on here. You're telling me the guy that has led to a Super Bowl, multiple NFC title games, and Mac Jones is on his 3rd team in 3 years, has a better chance of leading that team to a Super Bowl than Brock Purdy, who's already been there?
Yes, just like I'm telling you, if Brock Purdy was the Patriots quarterback for 3 years,
nuts.
He'd be a disaster. If Brock Purdy was the Patriots quarterback from 2022 through 2024, 21 through 23, Brock Purdy's career would be in shambles. I'm saying the 49ers elevate quarterbacks. They elevated, then Garoppolo goes away from San Francisco, and no one's heard from him since. And there's been some injuries in there. That's my point. My point is San Francisco's infrastructure is what created Brock. So are you arguing, Dex, that Brock Purdy could go to the Jaguars, the Bears, or the Browns and basically carry those franchises on his back, or the Patriots from 2021 through 23?
I think he's a better quarterback than what they've had, other teams have had. But I also believe Brock Purdy is a more capable quarterback right now to lead a team to a Super Bowl than Mac Jones. And next year, too.
I think I agree that right now, like, if money wasn't a factor, if they made the same amount of money, I'll take what I've seen from Brock Purdy over Mac Jones. But Brock Purdy's had the advantage of showing you his skill set within top 5 infrastructure for 3 years. And Mac Jones and Sam Darnold also until he got to better infrastructure. And Baker Mayfield until he got to better infrastructure. Some of that was Baker's own immaturity, too. It's like we put it on the quarterback, good and bad, when in reality, Kevin O'Connell is probably right when he told Rich Eisen that teams fail or make or break quarterbacks more than the other way around a lot of times. There are some exceptions. Some of the unique Andrew Luck made the Colts more than the other way around. So there are some exceptions, I think.
And that's what's so frustrating about the JJ McCarthy Vikings tie-in here is we can't find out. Like you can't say, well, McCarthy's had one good quarter out of 8, and so it's not going to work, right? Like what we all want to see is, can you do what you did with Darnold? Can you do what you did to at least make Cousins a better quarterback? That's what makes it so frustrating is we all think that O'Connell has some of the Shanahan ability to sprinkle magic dust on a young quarterback, but no one can find out. Because he can't get on the field, which is which is why it's such a nuts discussion to say, I think I'm done with him.
49ers Daily coming up here. It's a new spinoff show on Purple Daily. 49ers
I think the
Daily.
quarterback. I think the quarterback thing though is so interesting because I think it's so nuanced.
Yeah.
Like it's not just like everyone has to be Tom Brady and let's just talk about that.
I think just one last thing on the Darnold front. I actually think if you're the 49ers, and Darnold was already there, if you're the 49ers, and all of this is like, I know we're talking about the 49ers and Darnold, but all of this conversation applies to like Vikings quarterback philosophy and what they have done and should do or shouldn't do. But if I had two choices, and maybe Darnold just like would not have wanted to play for the 49ers, and I could have Brock Purdy at $53 million a year or Sam Darnold for $20 million a year less, I sign Sam Darnold in March if I'm the Niners, and I trade Brock Purdy for draft capital. So then I'm getting Darnold for $20 million less a year and like a first round pick or more from some other team that trades for Brock Purdy. That's how I would have done it. But no.
All right, John Lynch.
Idiot on a microphone. So,
come on, Johnny Lynch.
Let's do like one more and then we can get to our snake draft of the week here. There's some KOC criticism in here. Jake Geib says, KOC is strange. I love the guy, but there's something off about him. How can he be so smart and thoughtful everywhere else, but then consistently make brain-dead blunders in the game? That punt on 4th and 1 against the Falcons, not getting the play in on time on 4th and 13 against the Steelers. His offensive stats don't add up. Like you said, Zimmer's teams actually averaged more points per game in a lot of seasons. Something is just off, and it's really starting to become obvious now that his offense is struggling. He doesn't seem to have any answers and is peeing down his leg. There's no way you go into this season with JJ McCarthy and think you're going to run the same offense that Darnold ran and have success. Sure, it might work, but it's not putting McCarthy in the best position to execute. I don't know. Just something isn't clicking here with Kevin O'Connell.
Okay, I see some faults. Look, I've used the analogy as well. I have seen guys pee down their leg. He is not doing that, all right? So it's not that bad. Sam Darnold, Detroit, you want to go back and watch a big puddle for him, you go back and watch that Detroit game. Yeah, I do think that there's questions about how they ran the game plans for Chicago and then Atlanta, which is why it would have been nice if McCarthy could have played the next week to see if they adjusted it. Now, the problem now is it's a makeshift line. It's a backup QB. The frustrating clock issues or the delay of game with Wentz at the end of the Steelers game was definitely an issue. But would I say that O'Connell is peeing down his leg? No, I don't feel like he is. But I know what he's talking about. Like there have been times where it's been like that coach is out of sorts. And I think that's what he's saying. I don't agree that it's that bad. I just don't.
Dude, it's funny. Like, I'll steal a line from Declan an hour ago. They're 2-2 with a crazy amount of injuries. They're not 0-4. They're trying to figure some things out with a revolving door of offensive linemen, and they're literally down to like their third center. They haven't had their offensive line play together at all in any of the 4 games, and they're 2-2. Let's just like take a beat before we say Kevin O'Connell is peeing down his leg. Oh my God, dude. Kevin O'Connell is still one of the 10 best head coaches in the NFL. Culture builders. Let's see how he navigates this. Let's see how he navigates kind of getting punched in the mouth here with injuries and a couple losses that were ugly before we discard him altogether.
I see a comment here that I agree with, which says KOC is flustered. He does seem flustered, but here's why. When you lose all of these guys, you got to figure out a way. Like, no one's going to say, you know what, the Vikings get 7 points to start the game. So he is flustered. I agree with that completely. He's flustered as trying to develop things and personnel approach. But there's a difference between, to put it more politely, I guess, hyperventilating in game, which we've seen, which he's not doing, and being flustered. But I mean, that goes back to what I discussed before, is the vibes are off. Like, they're 2-2, but the vibes are off. There's a lot of guys hurt. This is not good. Like, this does not feel good. The Pittsburgh game, eminently winnable. How different is this week if you had taken advantage and, let's say, not taken all those penalties? Like, there were things, and Pittsburgh did not exactly take that game and salt it away. How different does this week feel right now if you are 3-1? Because that was a possibility. It's not like they got blown out. The Falcons game, they were terrible. But
so the Pittsburgh game, they didn't get blown out?
Pittsburgh allowed them to stay in that game.
I mean, they were down by 2 scores most of the second half.
I'm not crediting.
They like were one completion away from a 60-yard game-tying field.
Lost by 3.
I'm not crediting the Vikings. I'm saying Pittsburgh allowed you, for all of this talk about, Pittsburgh, what an impressive performance. The Falcons game I thought was a far more impressive performance by your opponent. But my point is, if they're 3-1 instead of 2-2, this week feels totally different. And you have a chance to come back from Europe 3-2.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with like 80% of what you said. I do think they've, despite them inching it to a 3-point game against Pittsburgh and reaching for like, if we could just get one more 20-yard completion, we could line up for a 60-yard game-time field goal. They were thoroughly outplayed and outclassed in the Falcons and the Steelers games. But even with that, and you could argue they were thoroughly outplayed and outclassed for most of the Bears game too, and found a way. So they've been, I think where the angst is coming from is it's a 2-2 that feels like an 0-4, but hey, it's 2-2. And you don't have to be outplayed and outclassed the rest of the season as guys get back healthy. So I definitely understand why fans feel like it's worse than 2-2. And some of the just the in-game flow stuff has been ugly. But it does feel like this is about as bad, knock on wood, as it's going to get this season. And all the doom and gloomers are like ignoring the possibility that that this could be the worst of it, and they could rattle off a bunch of wins like they have in other seasons. The Eagles were 2-2 after the first 4 games, and NFL.com power rankings after week 4 last year had them like 13th, and they're fighting, and Nick Sirianni and Big Dom and all this stuff is happening. That's all September, early October stuff that no one thinks about in December. And so get to 3-2 and figure it out.
If you go back and watch the Pittsburgh game, though, there are about 4 or 5 things. If you clean them up, you win that game. You can't be taking penalties like morons. I'm sorry. But they're second to last. Jacksonville's the only team averaging more per game. And I think if you check this out, the hallmark of O'Connell's teams have basically been they've been disciplined and smart. Yeah. It's just like 2 years ago, you get off to that crappy start because you have that 4-game spat or whatever it was of turning over the football. Can't happen. Self-inflicted wounds.
Yeah.
Clean it up.
Yeah, I think is it like 15 pre-snap penalties or something, or 13 or 15 pre-snap penalties?
Yeah, you got to clean that up. Got to do it.
So there's the feedback, Ben. We'll get to our snake draft of the week here in just a moment. Shout out to Running Aces. It's a great, fun place to bring a group of friends to watch football on that 53-foot LED wall, the largest in the state of Minnesota. Brand new bar, seating areas within the restaurant, and then around that, a bunch of fun things to do. Blackjack, table games, poker. Bingo is back as of a couple weeks ago. They even have stand-up comedy starting back up at Running Aces on October 25th. This is not your typical casino scene. Smoke-free, bright, energy-filled, and a ton of fun things happening all throughout each week. Check out more details at runaces.com. Just up 35, north edge of the Twin Cities, runaces.com. And Purple Daily is pumped to team up with FVP Auto Parts and Menards this season. Menards is your one-stop shop for FVP Auto Parts, and that includes FVP -50 RV and Marine antifreeze. So this is a good time to think ahead and winterize those summer toys, boats, RVs, cabins, with FVP RV and Marine antifreeze for winterizing pools, boats, recreational vehicles, campers, vacation homes. It protects up to 50 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. So head to Menards, either in Minnesota or in any number of 15 states in the upper Midwest, and stock up on FVP antifreeze, because performance matters on the road and beyond. All right, Declan, it's time for our snake draft of the week. What are the standings looking like, and who won last week? We had the Famous Babies won last week.
Famous Babies, Phil took home the victory with 60% of the vote.
Whoa.
Big win for Phil. Big win for Phil. Judd, you just had 5.7% of the 790 votes.
Wow, that's fair. Yeah.
And then I had 34%. So, Phil, that was your 18th win in 58 snake drafts. It's just your 3rd win overall since mid-April.
Wow. Just struggling.
Yep. So you are 18 for 58. Judd, you're 22 for 63. Our brilliant statistician, AJ Fredrickson, who also fills in on snake drafts and usually dominates, has made a new category for me. He has pre-Sunny, which is 16 for 53, and post-Sunny, 0 for 1. So we will be tracking stats now going forward, pre-dad and post-dad. So
love it.
0 for 1.
We're
Looking for
gonna-
my first win in my son's lifetime.
Is Declan going to be too distracted to dominate the snake drafts? The Judd's column on Substack.
Yep.
Judd/Solgat. Yes.
Amen.
So I think the draft order is Declan gets the first overall
Yep.
pick here, and then
Yep.
I'll bat second. Judd, you bat third with the wraparound. 3 rounds, and the subject here is best environments or places to drink a beer. And I'm going to say the only rule that I will propose is you can't say at a Vikings game or like at a Minnesota. You can't specify at a Minnesota sports event because that's just pandering. If you say at a Vikings game, you're going to win automatically because people are going to vote for that.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
You could say like at a football game
Right,
Right.
but you can't say it.
or at a
yeah.
baseball game or something,
Yep.
but
Gotcha.
you can't specify Vikings because it's just an automatic win. Is that fair?
Yes. Yep. That makes sense. That makes sense. So I have the top pick. Kind of hate having the top pick for this one. I think this is kind of tough. I have a lot of Declan ones in here that I really like that I can sneak around 2 and 3. But the top pick I think is a little difficult. So I'm between 2 and they're kind of basically the same thing. I'm just trying to decide regionally how I make this call. So I want to say on the water. Like I want to say beach.
Yeah.
I want to say like on
Like,
the lake because it's Minnesota, but like body of water. Can I say body of water? Or
Can
is
you
that
say on a boat?
on a boat?
Yeah.
Okay.
And what
Okay, on a
type of
boat.
boat? And what type of boat too?
I think
I'd
if
like
you
that
specify
question.
the type, the type of boat, or I think you have to specify like the type
A
of
speedboat?
boat or the body of water. So you could say on a lake or on a pontoon,
Right.
which are
Pontoon.
both things on my big board.
Yep.
Yeah, with a keg. Yeah, I like that.
Yep. Well, yeah. Well, pontoons are better than like a speedboat with a beer is gonna be a
done it.
bumpy, terrible. So
I've
if
done
someone wants that, yeah, just
I've done that. Yep.
No,
It's doable.
No, thank you. All right, I'll say on a boat, and I'll specify pontoon.
On a pontoon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a
Pontoon.
great place.
That was very high. The pontoon was very high on my big board. Very high on my big board. All right, I got the second pick here. So many great options.
Oh yeah.
A yacht's available if anyone's at a beach. Well, yacht, you could take a yacht.
Oh,
we
we've
were
done
on
that.
a little yacht gathering a couple
Yeah,
months ago.
Yep.
I've done that. Yeah.
Yep.
So have you.
I'm gonna go airport beer here, boys. I'm gonna
Okay.
take the airport beer.
Yeah.
You rush. You get in there like an hour and a half before. I'm a get to the airport early guy.
Me too.
Get there. You got to do the obligatory walk to the gate to make sure that your gate exists. Okay, it does. Nothing's.
My wife hates that.
Looks like we're definitely
Why?
gonna be going here.
I
Find
just-
the nearest bar.
Well, number one, I just get there, stupidly early in
Yeah.
general. But I just think because like I already get there early, and then like I have to make sure it exists, and I go back. It is a thing for me. We've talked about it before. Like, is
no, you're
this
right.
plane at this gate? And
Is it there?
especially if you're in a large airport, because if you're in C and then all of a sudden it's in G in Minneapolis, you better
Amen.
start walking, homie. You better start moving your ass. So whole big thing.
You try Chicago.
Or,
O'Hare
yeah.
is a nightmare.
Or
and they'll
Denver.
move those things to gate Z, and then it's a gate A, and it's like,
Denver or Atlanta are, I mean, those are at two least. I'd rather drive somewhere than have to fly into Denver or Atlanta. I can't stand those airports. Terrible airports.
Denver's so far out.
Yeah.
I think Atlanta's still the busiest airport in the country, but Denver is, they moved it years ago. It used to be like tucked in right around. It was very, very nice. And now it's like way out in the boonies. Okay. So I got the back-to-back.
Yes.
Okay. I am going to, so
Welcome to
every
welcome
time.
to the snake
this is
draft.
not, I was saying it. I was just saying it as so I got the back-to-back. I know I do.
I
I
don't
was
know if
just
you did.
saying it. I did know that. Okay. So much like with the water and where you enjoy a beer there, and Declan had to specify, I'm going to do the same with bars. So like, I don't think I can say, and it's just so, if I just say at a bar, so I'm going to give you a specific bar. Okay.
Oh, like a name of a bar or a type of bar?
No, type of bar.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is smart.
Dive bar.
Yeah. This
Okay.
is smart.
Dive bar beer. So like, I just can't say, oh, I just want to go to a bar and have a beer. Very, very boring, Judd.
I want Judd to draft 3 different types
I
of
think
bars
he
here,
is.
which might wind up happening. Let's see.
Okay. Actually, you know what? No, I'm going. I might come back to one, but I'm not going to do it back to back. I'm going to be a little bit more strategic. So my second one is going to be a shower beer.
Oh, I hate.
Oh,
shower
wow.
beers. Hot take.
Shower beer.
Hate a shower beer.
I think the
Including
shower.
my
I'm
son.
kind of with. I think it's kind of weird. It's like, can't you just shower for 5 minutes and just like drink a beer? Do you
I
need
think at
the
the
beer
end
in
of
the
a
shower?
long. I think at the end of a long day, a lot of people enjoy a shower beer.
Honest question: have you ever had a shower beer?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
In
I
the
mean, I don't
last-
do it continually.
In the last 15 years, have you had a shower beer?
Probably had one about 5 years ago or so.
Oh wow. Okay.
It's been a while. It's been a while.
So
no,
it's
my,
like during the depths of COVID lockdown, Judge just got
Yeah.
four cases of beer in the shower.
I will say this: my overrated place to drink a beer is on an airplane. I don't enjoy them on an airplane.
I get worried about having to pee because I don't want to have to climb over people, or I'd rather just sit there.
That's why.
So sometimes, like, if you drink a beer on an airplane, it's like
Just wear a
it
diaper.
starts to go through you.
Adult diaper. I feel better now.
I think it's back on me here. Okay.
Yep.
Second round pick. So many great options here. I'm gonna go with the between the wedding ceremony and reception beer for my next pick.
Wedding
Wow.
beer.
Between the, but it's specifically, it's not just a wedding beer. It's the beer. Well, you've already had the ceremony's over. They got married. Everyone can kind of loosen up a little bit, and you're gonna drink a beer before you go into the reception as you kill time. That beer.
Cocktail
specifically.
hour. Cocktail hour.
Sure.
What,
Yeah,
What,
the
what it's called.
Yeah. AJ can classify it however.
Or
he
you-
needs to.
I'm more looking out for AJ because like that's a lot of words and a lot of letters just to put the before ceremony or after ceremony before dinner. So a
The
cocktail hour of a wedding.
the pre-wedding reception
Wow.
beer is the spirit of the.
How about this one? You go to the church, right? The wedding, but then there's a leg time between the start of the reception and the end of the
Yeah, that's
ceremony. So
That's
you
what I'm-
stop and
that's what
bop.
I'm-
So that's not a cocktail then, but that's an actually independent outside beer that
What you could do. It depends on the logistics.
I've done
but
that. Yeah.
if it's
Yeah,
like
I love
if it's a different venue for the ceremony and the reception, and you have to travel, then you bar hop a couple places before
Yeah.
you get to the cocktail.
While they're
hour.
bar hopping in their bus, which I never get invited to. I never have been invited in my life. Even when my sister and brother-in-law got married, Dawn got to go in the limo or on the party bus. Guess who had to go schlep himself in the car to the reception? That's right, this guy
What?
right here.
Why weren't you? Why were
have
you
room
not
for me.
invited?
Didn't have room for me.
Did you try to get on and they were like seats taken?
No. I knew.
They from the
I
South,
was.
their slate's taken.
There's seats
Forrest
taken,
Gump.
son. Get
Forrest
off. Get
Gump.
off. Yeah, she's
Seats taken. Okay.
Anyway, no, I did not try. I was informed beforehand. This is, of course, is years and years ago. I was informed beforehand that my company was not wanted.
I feel like we need to unpack this more. This is that's like a
I just
pretty
remembered it.
traumatizing
It wasn't,
event.
wasn't traumatizing at all. I just got drunk somewhere else.
We're back to Dex.
Yeah.
The back-to-back picks here.
I was gonna do like wedding beer, but I as someone, I mean, and I love my drinking and I love beers, but I definitely dabble in more cocktails at a wedding than I do with beer. Like in terms of amount consumed, I'm definitely gonna lean heavier on the cocktail side than the beer side if it's a wedding, because like especially if you got open bar situation, you gotta take advantage of that. How many times do you get to drink for free? So big difference there. All right. So I'm between a few here. My big board's still pretty decent. Let's go here. I'm gonna stay outside, and I'm gonna take Bonfire. I'm gonna take the Bonfire beer.
Wow. Okay.
Bonfire beer.
Sure.
Yeah.
Still
I feel
outside.
like it's not a bad place for a beer. Bonfires in general, you're dealing. I'm going to say this. Here's my take on bonfires. Overrated. Overrated. The smoke, if the wind picks up, and now you got to be kind of wary about where you're sitting. Your clothes are going to get all smoky and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to say bonfires. The bonfire beer helps it because at least you're getting a little buzz going on. But generally, bonfires overrated.
This is where, and I think there might have been some preliminary discussions or interest. This is where the if Deck's here for solo stove outside, the solo stove is excellent for bonfires because it keeps the smoke away from you. It literally it directs the smoke up and away. It's a phenomenal little life hack there if you don't have a solo stove.
Do you enjoy a good s'more?
I'm okay on s'mores.
Not a big
I'm
s'more
there
guy.
for I am there for the fire. I'm a fire not. I tend to do a fire. I cannot sit still at a bonfire. So like if there's even if it's not at my house, I better be having great trust that person's taking proper care of this fire because I can't sit still. So it's about sitting, drinking, and maintaining the fire. The s'mores and the hot dog part, if you even dabble in there, are always very secondary to me. Don't need a s'more.
Okay.
Don't need a s'more.
That's okay. Some controversial takes all around
Controversial takes. Yep.
here. Dex's final pick here.
Okay, last one, and I'm gonna still be outside for this one. I think I have to take this. Give me a golf course beer on the golf course.
That was
yeah,
good.
give me the golf course beer. I figured I knew Judd wasn't gonna take this.
I
and
wouldn't know.
I thought Phil had a chance. I love I as much as I like the airport beer, and I was hoping it would sneak around to me. I think it's a little high, but the airport the feeling of the airport beer is a great feeling. Going on a trip, it's always exciting. But
It's a little
but the golf
expensive.
course.
Yeah.
Give me the golf course. Give me the golf.
People are mad about my bonfire take here. That like I'm not Minnesotan if I don't want to sit out.
Yeah,
in
people
front
love
of a
bonfires.
bonfire.
People love
Yeah.
bonfires here.
Dawn loves them. I'm not a fan of the outside.
I'd rather just like go back on the water or something at night. You know, I'm fine. Just put me back on the. You put me back on the pontoon at night, and you guys can
rather
hang
just
out
go to
by
the
the
pub.
bonfire.
just go to the bar.
All right, my last pick here, and then Judd will round it out. Golf course was definitely high up on the big board here. There's a few other ones. I'm gonna go with the tailgate beer. Love me a
Oh, that's a good
tailgate
one.
beer.
Yeah, that's a good
You
one.
know,
Sure.
football. College football. Generally for me, but I'll just say the tailgate beer before a big old football game. Just make a simple
good
pick there. All right, Judd.
So I did see a suggestion from the comments of a night that used to be a great night for a beer, excessive drinking, which is the night before Thanksgiving. Long ago, jumped the shark. Long ago, jumped the shark. It used to be a great night. Now it's like St. Patrick's Day, amateur day, absolute clown show, terrible. So I'm not going to go with that one. I'm just going to go with a pub. Just a simple nod to what's going on in jolly old England. Pubs are great. If you go, New York and Chicago have really good pubs. I feel like we don't really have pubs here. I feel like we got a lot of bars.
What's the differentiation between a dive bar and a pub? That a pub is like a little. It's a notch above a dive bar.
Yep. And I think I'll look this up, but I think there is an official consideration for what a pub is. Let me see here.
Yeah, here you go. Here, I'll give you it.
Go ahead.
A dive bar is typically small, unpretentious,
Yeah.
and often shabby. A U.S. bar with inexpensive drinks, cash-only services, not all the time, but cash-only services, and a focus
Jukebox,
on
old school. Yep.
a focus on basic drinks like shots and a brew. In contrast, a pub is a British or community-focused establishment known for serving both alcohol and substantial food from a proper kitchen, creating a comfortable, home-like atmosphere with a focus on beer and ale.
Okay.
So there
pub.
is, yes, the best dive bar I have been to in my life is right off of Times Square. It's called Jimmy's Corner. And it is the definition. First of all, it's packed all day. You go in at 10 a.m. It's packed. Jukebox, that's old. You can barely get past like the people sitting at the bar because it's so tight. And it's just it is the definition of a dive bar. It's absolutely fantastic.
Love it. I love that. You belly up at that place, or do you
hell
find
yeah.
like a rickety booth somewhere? You got a belly.
I like to belly up. I'm a big sit at the bar guy.
Yeah,
I'm very big. I don't really enjoy I'm fine, but if it's me and like Dawn, we almost always belly up because it just you get more of the atmosphere and the bartenders are great because because like if they're jackasses, they're still great because that's just like the vibe of the
It's
bar.
part of the deal. Yeah.
Yeah, like you know what you're getting.
Yeah, I even like at Red Rabbit when we go, because it's always, it's almost impossible to get a table there. It's if we see two spots at the bar, I would say 75% of the time we go there, even like we'll go sit at the bar before anywhere else.
Yeah.
Good call.
So the draft, you can vote, by the way, on the Score North Twitter account here shortly. The draft goes like this. Declan, situational beers here. On a pontoon, at a bonfire, on a golf course. I wind up with the airport beer, the pre-wedding reception beer, and the tailgate beer. And Judd with the dive bar beer, the shower beer, and the pub beer. Some things left on the big board here. The beer wall grilling was on my big board.
Yep, I had a grill.
The hotel bar, like when I don't know, you're like on a trip and you just go to the hotel bar for a beer.
Grilling was a good one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lawnmower beer. For those of you who've done, I was a big riding lawnmower guy growing up on a hobby farm.
Okay.
I like the post lawnmower beer than I do, but I don't have a rider though, so I think that obviously is a
yeah. If you have a rider, I don't know, maybe that's illegal, so don't do that. But after you're done, the satisfaction of just mowed the lawn, got some grass shards all over my shoes.
If you have a riding mower and you are consuming beers and you are on your own property cutting your grass, is that a problem? Well, like if you go in the street and you're drunk, that's a Dewey. But if you are riding a mower like you, Phil, in Buffalo, so you got all this property but you're on your own lawn and you accidentally, let's say, have 5 instead of 4. Is that a potential problem?
I would trust the comments on this. Dub saying safe.
Okay.
Mike Purple Husker, confirm you are on private property. It's not illegal. No charges were filed. Not a problem on your property.
Yeah.
Feels like he knows.
I guess.
Yeah, I almost got busted once.
Yeah.
So the voting will be on the Score North Twitter account. You can check it out. Tomorrow we'll hit you with our picks for this Vikings-Browns game. Man, the injury report is ridiculous for this one. And then right after the game, so right around noon, we'll be live on the Purple Daily YouTube channel for Vikings Vent Line, either celebrating 3-2 going into the bye or providing therapy for potentially lost season. So for the Sports Dad, for Dex, I'm Phil, and this is Purple Daily. We just want these guys to win a Super Bowl before we die. Come on.